yeah, so when I started thinking about this, it was kind of hard, you know. Well, how do you talk about natural, limitless awareness? Uh, but I wanted to just connect to my own process of how I've experienced it, because that's the only space in which I can talk about natural, unlimited awareness. When we first start our practice, typically most people go through somewhat of a journey where they um, find themselves caught up in a lot of thinking and worrying and planning and rehearsing and rehashing, whatever, whatever. And they get stressed out because they realize that they have to keep reminding themselves to be mindful, to be aware of the present moment, whatever's arising. And it takes a lot of effort at first to be even um, aware in this present moment, to have awareness, period. And it's pretty clunky. It's kind of like a tug of war, push, pull for many people. Um, but with specific, deep practice, a lot of effort at the beginning, this awareness, this natural awareness, becomes effortless and it becomes limitless, right? Um, so, what is, hi, Jack and Nancy, nice to see you. Um, so, what is natural awareness and how do we experience it? So, this aware, I'm going to talk about awareness is, it's a natural capacity of the human mind. Everyone already has the ability to be aware, to directly perceive, with our senses, to feel, to be cognizant of our experience, basically, right? We might think of awareness simply as a state of being conscious of something, conscious of or aware of something. Uh, People complicate awareness. They don't understand it. They want to understand, and really it's a natural thing. It's just as natural as breathing, being aware. We already know how to do it, right? So let's try a simple experiment. Right now, after I tell you to go, I want you to look away from the screen for a moment and don't be aware. Don't be aware of anything as you look around. Okay, got it? All right, go. Okay, come on back. All right, could you not be aware? No, right? You couldn't. Not only that, in that exercise, you notice that you were aware and that it's impossible to stop being aware when you're aware. So awareness is a natural thing, especially, tell yourself not to be aware and you're going to be more aware. It's really an interesting thing. So in our quiet moments where we're, just looking around or we're fully aware, we don't have an agenda. We're here, we notice what we notice, we see what we see in the present moment. That's awareness. So I think I always use children or nature as examples for awareness. And I loved being a child growing up. I don't know if you remember your childhood, but to me it was magical. I remember being enthralled when we first came to the United States. I was 5 years old and I hadn't seen trees with bark, and green leaves and green grass because I was in the desert. And I was just amazed. And I would look at the trees and touch the bark. I wonder if it feels me touching it. I was so intrigued by all the life forms. And the first time I saw snow, because I came from the Middle East where it was really warm, I thought it was a miracle. These cold, frozen, white, beautiful flakes coming down from the sky. Wow. Um, Being aware, naturally aware, was easy as a child for a lot of different reasons. Because I was curious, I was inspired, I was relaxed, I didn't have any preconceptions, I didn't even understand anything, and I was just excited. What am I? It was like a journey. What am I going to be aware of? What am I going to learn today? Yay. Now I see my grandson. I've been watching him grow up. He's 6 years old. And he's still pretty present each day. He's still pretty curious and can look at things through the magical eyes of a child, uh, because he hasn't been too conditioned yet to expect certain things. But I'm already seeing him start to get bored. I'm already seeing him wanting to be a know-it-all and wanting to teach me things, like he's trying to teach me chess, which I tell him to forget it. I'm not I'm not going to learn it. But he's already getting this. I know. Um, he's constantly seeking novelty. He's wanting excitement, and he's starting to lose his ability to be naturally aware of things as if he's seeing them for the first time, right? Which is sad. But he's doing what's natural for all of us, right? We are actually wired, our brains are wired to store things that we already know or experience in some kind of automatic processes. These automatic processes in the brain um, they get stored so that we don't have to learn how to walk every time we want to walk again. We don't have to learn how to speak. We don't have to learn what a tree is every time we see a tree, right? We recognize things. We don't have to relearn how to read. Um, but with these automatic processes, what they do is when we go on autopilot, things become so familiar to us that we're not even present anymore, that awareness goes away. And you've noticed this, right? When you drive home from somewhere that you've done this drive many times and you wonder, how did I get here? Who just drove that car? I know I was in the driver's seat, but I don't remember any of it, right? Um, but we do that. We do that when we're washing dishes, when we're um, all kinds of things, right? Sometimes in a conversation with someone, sitting there nodding your head and then realize, I have no clue what they just have been saying. Um, because we go on autopilot. Um, as soon as things start becoming familiar to us, right? We're not present. We're no longer seeing the person or hearing the person. We're no longer even seeing or hearing ourselves. Awareness just isn't there. Um, I saw this really clearly at my coffee shop it's like the experiment in the human condition going to the coffee shop. I always thank God for that place. I wouldn't have any stories to tell you guys. But anyhow, I've noticed it with the coffee shop. Whenever, my little group of friends would be sitting in there, they'd be kind of bored with each other. And there would be a little bit of conversation. I got anything new going on? Anybody going on a trip? But as soon as a new person would walk in that someone's introducing, they would all get really curious and excited. And they'd start paying attention to this new person and be asking them questions, curious. They would be naturally aware of this new person, right? And after they got to know the new person, if they start coming regularly, guess what happened? They start they start to ignore the person, not giving them as much attention or awareness, and start talking about themselves. Right? But we are, as human beings, we seem to be drawn to novelty, to newness, like a bee to nectar, right? There's a part of our mind that's looking for something new regularly. And I think this is wired into us naturally because it helps us to seek out new territories, foods, new mate, for procreation, for looking for new things helps spur our creative juices so that we create new possibilities, new inventions. We get inspired by new things. So I think it helps the human race evolve, but it also helps us become pretty bored and automatic, and it ruins our natural awareness, right? When we think that with this automatic, as soon as we think we know somebody or something, we check out. I've seen that tree every morning. I don't see it anymore. Don't even notice the tree is there. Right? We lose our connection with natural awareness. We lose connection with the living life forces around us. So sometimes people use the word for effortless awareness, for effortless mindfulness. Awareness and mindfulness often get used synonymously. Mindfulness, the root Pali term sati, means to remember, which is interesting. To remember. To remember what? What are we remembering? We're remembering to be here. We're remembering to wake up out of autopilot back into the present moment. Oh, we're remembering to be here. Let go of our thoughts about how this moment's supposed to be. Let go of our preconceptions, our expectations of how experience is supposed to be, and actually be here, firsthand, real time, boom. When we can do that, everything is fresh, everything's new, we're seeing everything new for the first time. Right? It was that way when we were young because we didn't have that storehouse of knowledge and automatic recognition made up yet. So everything was fresh, new, brilliantly alive. I just, when I was a child, I spent hours sitting there watching an ant farm one day. I was amazed at their buggy little eyes and how they could carry these huge. Anyhow, you know what I'm talking about, right? So this effortless awareness, it requires us to have the ability to be present with the fresh mind, with curiosity, with don't know mind. Don't know mind, right? Because as soon as we think we know, what do? We're projecting a hologram onto our experience. We are interacting with and seeing a hologram that we have manufactured in our heads of what's happening rather than what's actually happening. We're interacting with our thoughts about what's happening, with our views about what's happening, with our preconceptions. I've used this example a lot. My parents I walk down the road, the most beautiful views I have ever seen in my life. Every time I go to their house, I walk down the road and I stare at the mountain views. Oh, I'm just taken away each time. My breath is totally taken away each time. I can't take my eyes off. And every 360 degrees, the views are beautiful. And every time I look, it's like I'm seeing it for the first time. I never get bored with those views. They never look the same 2 times in a row. And that's because I'm bringing don't know, fresh, natural awareness to this walk. Now, I want to say that our connection to this effortless awareness comes and goes. It's not permanent because we have a human mind that occasionally pulls us out of awareness of this moment. We have to think and plan and deal with details for the day. And occasionally, at least I catch myself going, oh, where have I been the last 10 minutes? Oh yeah, I've been planning or working on whatever. But typically when we get lost in automaticity, the mind tends to wander. And it usually gets caught up in fear-based survival thinking, right? And it's painful when we get caught in fear-based survival thinking. Anybody show me a hand who knows what I'm talking about? Yeah? Fear-based survival thinking is painful. But as soon as we can bring curiosity, even to the thinking itself, to whatever's arising in this moment, we are experiencing this natural awareness. We're no longer caught up in what's going on up here. And when we're naturally aware, every new moment is brand new. It's never repeated before. This moment has never happened before, just like this. Never. Our body hasn't been in the place where it is now. The temperature, all the conditions, the air, the time of day, everything has never all coalesced to be like it is this moment before. It's pretty amazing. And when we're present and we sit back and just allow awareness to happen, we see, whoa, things are no longer just things anymore. But the mind tends to project its knowingness onto this moment. That's what it does. So we want to be able to see that when it's doing that, when it's checking out. And the mind wants to know. The knowing mind wants to know. And the knowing mind does know a lot, which is true. But we want to hold what we think we know lightly. Because if we can do that, we'll be open to learning more, to experiencing things anew again. I had a recent relationship breakdown with somebody, and my automatic pattern was to judge this person, to put them, in all these categories, all these negative judgments of this person because of the way they acted. And of course, our relationship was never going to go anywhere if I continued with that. So I had to connect to, what do I really want? I want to heal the relationship to the best ability that I can. I want to understand this person, and if possible, have them understand me. So what did I do? I brought new mind, not don't know mind, not assuming anything about this person, fresh new perspective. I brought this free, unencumbered awareness to an interaction with this person, seeing them for the first time, curious, really connected to them, caring in a deep, profound level. And we had a wonderful, clearing conversation, and our relationship stronger than it's ever been before. I didn't bring my preconceptions and my judgments to the relationship, right? Imagine that I was being defensive. Imagine I came to this conversation, this healing conversation, with defensiveness. How do you think that conversation would have gone? Right? Because I would have been hologramming this negativity onto the situation. So it's a practice, continually letting go of what we think we know, having fresh new eyes to rest in awareness, to see things as they are, as they arise, change, and pass away. Ah, yeah, it's amazing when we rest. So first we're aware of the objects that are arising and passing away. And then at some point, we want to start dropping into awareness itself, like the big blue sky, right? We become awareness itself, like we did in the meditation. And then objects arise and pass into awareness, but we become awareness, right? There's no separation between ourselves and awareness. Every so often we get immersed in the objects and we get lost in the objects. That's okay. That tends to happen. Just notice that and rest back in awareness and be aware of objects without glomming onto them. Right? So I was looking in Buddhism for any kind of suttas or teachings that would be helpful with this. And I think the Bahiya Sutta is the most profound one for this. Bahiya was seeking enlightenment. He thought he was enlightened. But Spirit came down and told him, oh no, Bahiya, you are not enlightened. You don't even have a practice for being enlightened. So he found out that there was an enlightened master, the Buddha, and he was seeking him out. He went far trip to go seek out the Buddha. And when he finally found the Buddha, he was on alms round in Savatthi. And he witnessed him from afar. As the sutta goes, he saw the Buddha serene and this inspiring, serene confidence, calming his senses at peace, his mind at peace, with the utmost tranquility and poise, tamed, guarded, his senses restrained. So seeing the Buddha, Bahia went up to him and he begged him for, teach me the Dhamma, that will be for my long-term welfare and bliss. The Buddha said, no, I'm on alms round right now. This will have to wait. This is not the time. So he pleaded with him 3 different times, and finally the Buddha gave him his profound teaching. And the teaching he told him was, okay, Buddha, okay, Bahia, you should train yourself thus. In reference to the seen, there will only be the seen. In reference to the heard, only the heard. In reference to the sensed, only the sensed. In reference to the cognized, only the cognized. This is how you should train. This is how you should train yourself. When for you there will only be the seen in reference to the seen, the heard in reference to the heard, the sense in reference to the sense, only the cognized in reference to the cognized, then Bahia, there is no you in connection with that. When there is no you in connection with that, there is no you there. When there is no you there, you are neither here nor yonder nor between the two. This, just this, is the end of all stress. Right? What is he saying? Just awareness. Right? Resting in awareness. When we're resting in awareness, there is no us in awareness. Right? As soon as there's a me or you, then we're back into the fear-based thinking mind. So it's like being a child again, beginner's mind, in the seen, only the seen. Right? This is natural awareness. Some people call it non-dual awareness. So how do we experience this natural awareness? Well, I think the more we practice, the more we experience it, the more we meditate. But first, you can have the intention to experience natural awareness. I think that's to be important. The second thing is to relax. You're not going to experience natural awareness when you're all tensed and trying to experience natural awareness, right? It's just a relax. Remember that you already know how to do this. This is as natural to you as breathing. We were all a child once, right? And invite don't know mind, right? The enlightened mind that existed before ideas, opinions, and concepts created all of our suffering for us. And then sit back, rest, experience this moment anew through your senses like it's never occurred before, seeing each moment brand new. Right? The cornucopia of arisings and passings away. No moment will ever be like this moment. So as you're resting, then remember to rest back in awareness itself. Instead of just being aware of the objects, sit back and allow the objects to arise and pass away. Like sitting watching the blue, limitless blue sky with clouds and airplanes or whatever birds that as objects that arise in the sky and fly away, move away. And you'll experience yourself as spacious, free, effortless. You'll also experience that the you is not there. There is no you there. This is Diana Winston. She says, natural awareness can feel very powerful. It can feel like a deep sense of peace, joy, love, contentment, serenity, connection, and much more. It can be evoked through specific practices, and it is a type of meditation in and of itself. It can become a familiar state, accessible in daily life, and regularly experienced as you meditate with it over time. As the Buddha, this is another quote from the Buddha in the Majjhima Nikaya, develop a mind that is vast like space. Develop a mind that is vast like space. where experiences both pleasant and unpleasant can appear and disappear without conflict, struggle, or harm. Rests in a mind like vast sky. Yeah. So I usually give instructions for people to start with their concentration object, to do their best to be aware of the breath or whatever their sound or whatever it is as the object centered meditation. Uh, and to then remembering to be aware of each moment. Right? Bring awareness, the childlike curiosity to each moment. And then as you find yourself in this spacious awareness, just rest back in spacious awareness in the blue, become the blue sky, right? Become the blue sky and rest in that awareness itself. And see what comes, what arises. I think it was Ajahn Chah, no, maybe it was Jack Cornfield, said to take a chair, send it in the middle of the room, and see what comes to visit. Yeah. So some of this is, some instructions might be to see your mind as like this spacious, limitless blue sky. I did a retreat once where we did a Mahamudra retreat, where they started us out by imagining we're meditating, following our object, and then imagining that we hear the waves of the ocean lapping on a ship in the middle of the ocean, right? So go ahead and do that for a minute. Imagining there's a ship in the middle of the ocean. Imagining that you could hear the waves lapping against the ship. And now sense the space that exists between you and the ship. And just rest in the space itself if you can. Okay, you can open your eyes. So that was really, that was the first time I really experienced this spaciousness. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I've heard teachers talk about mind like the ocean. There's another practice where you imagine your mind is like the ocean. On the surface is the choppy waves and turbulence, the dramas that we get caught in, thoughts, fears, emotions, stories. And then imagine your mind, your awareness sinking below the surface to the depths, the calm, quiet, limitless depths of the ocean, where there's no turbulence down there. Resting underneath where it's still and calm, peaceful, and tranquil, very deep tranquility there. So anytime you're feeling that you want to experience this natural awareness, you can do one of these practices. Right? Or you can just open up at any moment to the space around your body, the space in the room, the space. There's much more space than there are objects. Much more space. We think that it's all objects. And it's actually all space. Very, very little matter. And it's really freeing. And we'll sense these qualities in the space, love and connection and peacefulness and fullness and yet emptiness at the same time. A lot of joy too. So here's Ajahn, Jack Cornfield says, Ajahn Jumian, a Thai forest elder, speaks of this form of practice as Mahavapassana, resting in pure awareness itself, timeless and unborn. For the meditator, this is not an ideal or a distant experience. It is always immediate. ever present, liberating. It becomes the resting place of the wise heart. So thank you for your listening. May you experience natural awareness